Good evening, everyone. Welcome to WealthWave, and I'm glad that you're able to spend just a short time with us today to learn more about our company, learn more about who we are, what we do, and really why you're here. And it is my honor to introduce our speaker today, Chris Felton. You see on the screen who I consider a great friend, a great mentor to me personally, and really, truly a great model, right, for many of us. And so 20 years ago, even though Chris was in a very successful, full of potential career, but he wanted something more, right? He wanted something more that's more meaningful, more fulfilling, that allows him to have greater impact to positive impact to more people's life, and also allows him to have better work-life balance for himself and ultimately achieve financial freedom for his family. So he made a career change from that. And fortunately for all of us, he found our industry, he found our company, chose to be with us, and has been with us ever since. So in the last 20 years, Chris has built a successful practice with over 200 licensed agents. Okay, and all together, we operate in several states throughout the country. All together as group effort, we have helped 30,000 families and growing, right, get the financial household in order. That's what he wanted in a career, is to help people have a better life, right? And so on top of that, with his passion, he and his wife, Marlo, had published a book called Couples Money. Again, the goal is to help people understand money better so that they can make better financial decisions. So last but not least, is no surprise that they were interviewed and featured by Market Watch, Forbes magazine, Fortune magazine, on the accomplishment that they have made to the industry. So with that, you're in for a treat to hear from Chris today in a very intimate setting. So learn a lot, take notes, and enjoy the presentation.
Thanks, Tinza. That was really good. That's probably your best ever.
Thank you.
Anyway, we love Tinza. Thanks, sister. Welcome, everybody. And as Tinza said, my name is Chris Felton. 21 and a half years with this firm, and excited to be with you guys today. Excited to share with you our mission of stamping out and eradicating financial literacy in the United States, because right now we have a major problem. It's a crisis. We call it a wealth crisis, and it's the fact that people don't know how money works. They're mainly financially illiterate. 96% of Americans retire broke, and until now there hasn't been really any solution for that, whether that be our school system, our industry, even our own homes with our own parents. And so we at WealthWave have discovered a solution. And so what today is about is describing the problem, our solution to it, and then potentially your role in helping us advance this mission once again of stamping out and eradicating financial literacy in the United States. And so you might be on this webinar for various reasons. You might be here as a current client. First and foremost, thank you. We're super grateful for you, because without you, we don't have a business. And thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you. You might be here as a potential client, want to understand how we operate, want to understand what we do. We welcome you. You might be like I was 21 years ago, totally frustrated with your career. You have a lack of time, a lack of control. You're limited in your financial upside. You want to make a bigger impact. You just want to do better for you and your family. So you're here looking at us from a career change. So we welcome you. You might be on this because you love your career, but what you're realizing and what the pandemic taught you is you could stand to make more money, save more money. You're looking at us from a part-time opportunity. You're looking at us from, really a multiple stream of income. So we welcome you. Or you might be here as, a center of influence where nothing really interests you personally, but whoever invited you is building a business. They think it's important that you know what we do. And their hope is that you love what we do. You sing from the rooftops and you make introductions to their market so that you can help them grow their business. So for whatever reason you're here, welcome. My background is I grew up in Loveland, Colorado, about 60 miles north of Denver, to two amazing parents that did the best they could. But guess what? They never learned how money works. And so they argued over money. They fought over money. They stressed over money. They divorced over money, right? 60% of divorces are tied back to financial stress. The 5 leading killers in the United States today are all stress-related illnesses. My mom passed away at 64. Colon cancer was the reason. I think the root of it was just financial stress. And from the time she was 5 until she was 64, always worried about how to pay her bills, how is she going to make it happen. My dad passed away 2.5 years ago, made it all the way to 88. I have no idea how he did that. He was sick for decades and passed away with basically every stress-induced illness you can name. And he was broke, and he had an extra $75,000 long-term care bill attached to it. And so I took my money cues from my parents, and they said, hey, Chris, go to school, get good grades, get a good job with good benefits, don't rock the boat, don't take risk, and when you're 65, it's all going to turn out okay. How many of you have got that story? And we know 96% of the time that actually leads to failure. And so I did what they told me to do. I went to Colorado State University, got an accounting degree. I moved down to Denver in 1993. I went to work for a large corporation called Arthur Andersen as a CPA. And for basically the next 7 years of my life, I was consumed by work. I worked 70, 80, 90 hours a week. I didn't have a life. And my turning point that led me here was my most memorable week there. And I was supervising 8 people. We were working on a very difficult job. We had a major deadline that fell the Monday after Easter Sunday, and it was looking like we were going to have to work Easter. And in my household, to my mom, Easter Sunday was the deal, right? And I'm like, Mom, I might have to work Easter. And she said, figure it out. And she gave me one of those looks that only moms can give, right? That basically said, if you don't get it figured out, there will be a smoking crater where you once stood, right? So I took the message, and basically I worked 120 hours in a 6-day period. I didn't sleep. I think I drank 3 kegs of coffee. We got the job done. I got home early at 11 p.m. on Saturday evening, and my brother and I lived together. He was waiting up for me. He wasn't really sure what happened to me. We hadn't talked. And I don't know if you've ever been involved in a family intervention. This is the closest I ever got to it, but I was tired, I was irritable, I was frustrated, and he just started asking me like really annoying questions like, what are you doing? And is what you're doing, are you going to do this the rest of your life? And we got in an argument, and I got really defensive, and I didn't like it. But what he did was he gave me a gift, and what he did is he woke me up out of this hypnotic state that we as humans live. Studies show that 91% of our thoughts today are the same as they were yesterday. And the real secret to life is if you don't change your thinking, your life never changes. And so sometimes we need a wake-up call. I think the pandemic has been that for a lot of people. It gets them to actually sit down and do the thing they were avoiding to do, which is actually think, because people are almost too busy to sit down and think. And so he got me to think. And I sat down, I started reading a book that I highly recommend you get called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. And basically Napoleon Hill spent his lifetime following around and interviewing 500 of the most successful people of all time through the introductions of Andrew Carnegie, who was the wealthiest man in the world at the time that they met. And so Carnegie introduced Napoleon Hill as a young kid to Edison and Ford and Alexander Graham Bell and Woolworth and Wrigley and Rockefeller and 8 presidents and 5 prime ministers. And so the goal was to reach out and interview these 500 people, find some common threads, some common denominators, and create a theory, some principles that if anybody would basically follow what they did, they could have what they had. And so he created 14 principles, and whether it was a successful marriage or relationships or business or finances or health or whatever you want, if you follow these 14 principles, you get results, and if you don't, you don't. And so I started reading that book, and it just blew me away, because I kind of assumed all these very successful people were, greedy entrepreneurs. They were chasing wealth, but I could not have been more wrong. They actually wanted to make society better. They wanted to solve a big problem. That was their first and foremost thought. And as a result of solving a big problem and being on a huge mission, they actually got really wealthy in the process. That got me excited. The second thing was they all had these things called dreams. And I'm like, dreams? Wow. I had those once. What happened to them? Well, guess what? I settled into being busy and living day to day. And I'm like, I'll push it off. I'll push it off. I'll push it off. But what happens to 96% of societies, they never get around to it. So I started sitting down and started thinking about this thing called my ideal life, and I got excited about it. But my excitement faded because I looked at what I wanted over here, my ideal life, and my goals, and my dreams and aspirations. And then I looked at my career, and I knew that that was never going to happen being an employee. And so it was the moment of truth, I call it, and it was a choice that I had to make. And it's the choice of I either needed to hold on to those goals, dreams, and aspirations and eventually find the vehicle that was going to get me those, or I was going to have to shrink my goals and dreams to fit inside of what I was currently doing. And I said, you know what? I'm not giving up on that. So I spent a year searching the entrepreneurial world looking for the vehicle, and I couldn't find it. And then I got excited about this industry, financial services and investment advisory, and I got interviewed by some of the big firms, and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you. Just make a list of all your $1 million friends that we could go see, which was zero. Having grown up in Loveland, Colorado, that didn't exist. And they wouldn't go meet with my mom because she didn't qualify, having $10,000. So I just didn't have a good feeling about the industry. And then I was introduced to this in February 1999 by my business partners today. And I saw this overview. I showed up skeptical. I didn't really think it was real. But as I sat there and my future business partner, Eric Jensen, talked to me about the 3 things that got me excited back then that still get me excited today. And number 1 is our mission statement is we want to create financial independent families. We want to teach people how money works. We want to stamp out financial literacy in the United States. I got so excited about that mission because that lined up with what I read in Think and Grow Rich. He said, you know, you could test drive our business on a part-time basis, work in the largest industry on the planet part-time, carve out 3 to 5 to 10 hours a week to see if it's a fit, no risk. And then he talked about the concept of waking up on January 1st and fulfilling a financial dream of your recurring revenue from your business is greater than your bills. And when that happens, you have a certain level of financial independence. I've been blessed to be there for a long time. And now we're looking to transfer that to thousands of people so they have that peace of mind. And so I came on board. I was very part-time the first year, made the decision to jump full-time and have never looked back. And here we are and 21 years into it, never been more excited about where we're going and more excited about really stamping out this big problem. And one of the things that I asked myself back in the day is, what does control look like for me? And what I did learn is whoever controls your paycheck controls your life. They control how much you make. They control when you work. They control the time with your family. They control the schools that your kids go to. And I don't want that anymore. I wanted control. And one of my mentors said, hey, Chris, how risky is it to have 100% of your revenue generating efforts in the hands of other people and no control in your hands? And I'm like, man, that's a great point. I need to get back that control and have it with me, right? And as I was, looking at our industry, and there's a bunch of people out there that are frustrated and they're trying to figure out where's a good place to land. And you can do your own research on financial services, but it's going to be one of the big ones for the next several decades. And everyone thinks real estate and retail are big industries. They're really not. When you combine them, they're not even half of ours. But the beautiful thing about ours is it's mainly focused on high net worth. It's mainly focused on institutional money. Our niche is this other 96%. And our industry hasn't done a good job of getting to that niche, right? We often call ourselves the Uber to financial services, right? When Uber showed up and shook that industry of, really stuck in time and tradition, and they disrupted it. And it hasn't grown for decades, and we're super excited about that. And the cool part is when you're involved in such a large industry like this, and your niche is this big, then it makes you look a lot better than you really are. Trust me, I'm that guy, right? So we have a massive need, a massive opportunity. Every generation needs our help. We got parents of boomers that have their own challenges. We got baby boomers. They haven't saved enough. They're getting discarded by corporate America. There's not a lot of love there. We welcome them here. Generation Xers, that's me. Totally disenfranchised with corporate America. We're looking to do something different. And then millennials have kind of watched what's happened with their baby boomer parents. And guess what? They don't trust the industry. So they're looking for ways to learn how money works from a different source. And so huge opportunity. Hundreds of millions of people need what we have. The #1 economic crisis in the world is financial literacy. And so when our book came out, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker, in the fall before the pandemic, I read that and I was like, man, is that really the #1 economic problem in the United States? And then guess what? The pandemic hit. People are spending money on 12 months of toilet paper supply, and they're eagerly awaiting a stimulus check, and it's $1,200. And the average small business owner had about 2 weeks worth of reserves to get them through tough times. And man, it just totally strengthened my belief in what we do. And it answered that question that, yep, it's the #1 economic crisis on the planet, because guess what? Money impacts absolutely everybody, all 5 billion people on the planet. So once again, if you're looking for a career, this is a good one to go into, right? Because it impacts everybody. Aegon, our parent company, AEG is the ticker symbol. They did a whole retirement study, and what they realized is 70% of people in the world are financially illiterate. And the US is 7th in financial literacy. We're the wealthiest country on the planet, but we're 7th. What's up with that? People know how to make it, but guess what? They don't know what to do with it. They know how to make it, they know how to spend it, they don't know how to make it work for them and their families. And so we're after, changing that model. School systems don't teach it. I'm in the state of Colorado, and what we learned is, beginning in January, the school system shut down and voted down the budget to teach financial literacy in schools. And so what you guys are getting is the industry doesn't want to solve the problem. The school system doesn't want to pick it up. And the problem is there's a lot of financial information out there, and people get it, but knowledge isn't power unless applied. And what we find is people get a lot of information, they get overwhelmed, left to their own devices, they do nothing, they freeze, they procrastinate, or they make bad decisions. And so I'm always better with a coach. And so we believe people need financial education. We are financial educators first and foremost, and they need to be guided with strategies on how to implement that knowledge. And that's what we do here at WealthWave, and do a great job. And so our mission, Ari, stated again, stamp out financial literacy so families can dream again. And what I've also learned is, when you're stressed and worried about paying your bills, you can't dream. And I lived in financial stress for a big chunk of my life, and I know what it's like. And it's no fun. It's one of the worst feelings on the planet. And if I would not have ran into this company, financial poverty and financial literacy would have kept moving in my family. And you look back on generations, grandma was broke, great-grandma was broke, great-great-grandparents, both sides of the family. I mean, they just never really learned how money worked. And so, and I had a mentor a long time ago that said, Chris, once money's behind you, right, you don't have to worry about it. You'll never know how good you can be until money is behind you. And it's just totally spot on. And, the peace of mind is huge. And that's what we want to transfer to into our agents, into our clients. And it's just an awesome mission, right? So we at WealthWave, that's what we are, right? We are the How Money Works company. And I love that. And so what we decided to do was to go out and, really search the planet to see what kind of educational system was out there. And Tony Robbins, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. He wrote a financial book about 5 years ago. It was about this thick, about 500 pages, small print. As much as I love this information, I'd pick it up, I'd start reading it, and really start falling asleep. So boring, so intimidating, so hard to figure out. And we said, you know what, we're just going to create our own system. And so two industry giants, Tom Matthews and Steve Siebold, got together. Tom's been in the industry for 38 years. Google Steve Siebold. He's written some amazing books. He's got the longest running study of the self-made rich, the self-made millionaires. 1300. He's been following for the last 25 years, and he teaches you how they think. And but they created this book, and you guys can see it's got pictures and it's got characters, and people can get through it literally in an hour and a half. Whoever invited you, just text them and say, hey man, send me that book complimentary. We just ask that you read it. The media's gotten a hold of it. They're excited about it because, once again, it's approachable. You can read it in an hour and a half, and learn more about money than you ever have in your entire life. So if you Google a CNBC Rule of 72, what you'll do is you'll find the CNBC Fact Check. They love it. This is an amazing book. This is the first step of getting people a financial education they've never had. We have our own master class that we put together that, you know, I love it. It's simple. It's honest. There's clarity and simplicity. It meets people right where they are. It's approachable. It's not intimidating like the rest of the industry. And here's the problem with the industry, guys. The less that you know, the more they make. The less that you know about financial literacy, the better the industry makes. So they're totally conflicted. And they've won for hundreds of years. The consumer has lost. And guess what? We want to flip that. And we're excited about it. We want to get not only the education there, but we want to get the strategies in place to implement. Very super key, right? And you guys can read. Number one economic crisis in America. People don't have enough money to cover a simple emergency. 43% of student loan borrowers are not making payments. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We got a student debt solution, and it's just phenomenal. I was talking to a couple just recent grads, and I was just shocked at, like, they had 6 figures of debt, and I was blown away at literally how little money they were making. Like 38, 40,000 a year, like 6 figures of debt. Like, something's wrong with the system, guys. Like, it's unbelievable. We got to educate these people. They don't understand how, compound interest works on credit card debt. 33% of Americans have zero, retirement savings. And so, unbelievable. And as we're beginning to fly again, I don't think you would get on a plane that only has one wing, right? But this is the problem. People are trying to get through retirement with one wing. And they think that, they're going to be able to count on, Social Security and 401k to get them there. And guys, it's just not enough. They just can't make enough. And once again, just looking at those 2 awesome ladies I've been talking to, I'm just like, man, they're not making much more coming out of college than I was in 1993. So that one wing is really, it's back on, personal savings. And I think the biggest thing is, people have to make more money. If you Google the term gig economy, right? Uber's a gig, Airbnb's a gig. We're a professional services version of the gig. People just have to make more money, and we know how to do that. So we want to fill out that wing, right? And you guys can see nobody's saving enough, and with inflation and wage growth not growing, it's a real problem. And so we see this multiple times a week. People are saving, they haven't saved enough, they haven't been able to keep up with inflation. There's a gap there between what they have and what they need to have. And so 63% of baby boomers are more afraid of outliving their money over, dying. 63% of baby boomers are more afraid of outliving their money over dying. Is that a crazy stat? And so I love getting with these people when they don't think they got hope. I could fill a week-long webinar of before and afters of just amazing things that we've done for people to fill the gap and give them what's called reliable income, absolute reliable income. And anyway, so we're masters at it. Little financial literacy, and this is in the book, but it's called the Rule of 72. Arthur Anderson didn't teach this to me. Colorado State didn't teach this to me, but you take 72, you divide it by the interest rate that you hope to achieve. That's how long that it takes your money to double. And so if the interest rate is 1% in a bank, It takes 72 years for your money to double. But the problem is if you can find 1%. The average rate in a bank is 0.09%, 0.09%. It would take you 800 years for your money to double. And here's the shocking part. There's $10 trillion in accounts like that. 10 trillion, guys. Why? Because they don't know any different. And it's not their fault. No one ever taught them. The industry didn't teach them. Schools didn't teach them. So guess what? The goal is, let's get a better rate of return. Let's get up to 9%, and then your money's going to double every 8 years, which is substantial. Okay, so huge concept that we got to teach people. We got to teach people how taxes work. I don't know if you guys love it or not. I don't love paying taxes, and so if you were starting a farm, would you rather pay taxes on the seed that went in the ground or the harvest that came out? Well, I'd rather pay taxes on the seed. But most people have a tax now, tax later. That's where all their money is. And we got to teach them tax never strategy. So these are some of the things we got to teach people, guys. It's exciting when the light turns on, and it's absolutely awesome. And so, and then we just have really cool solutions. I call this the Swiss Army knife of financial products, where we got zero market risk, long-term care. We add these great tax strategies to the mix. And if you go camping, right, you don't go into your kitchen and grab scissors and grab a knife and grab a corkscrew and put all those in your pocket and run out. What do? You grab one tool that accomplishes many jobs. And so we call it the Swiss Army knife of financial products. We got a 4-minute video we can send to you. It's the #1 way that me and my wife invest personally, and just really cool things that we do here. And so this is what we do. Complimentary. Follow up with whoever invited you. We walk people through these 7 steps of getting a financial education, and walking through these 7 money milestones. They're really powerful. I take a picture of that. It's in the book, but it's the roadmap that 96% of society they just never have. And we love doing it on a complimentary basis. And so if somebody comes on board and they want to get into business with us, this is what you can do. It's not get rich quick. It's not get rich quick overnight. But you can help 5 families a month. And what happened to me was I started making more money on my part-time income than my full-time income. And I knew it was time to make a shift. And then if you want to scale it, you can scale it. If you want to open offices with me, I'll teach you how to do it. And you can build, and it's awesome, and create other leaders. And so we've gotten incredible results. We've helped over 250,000 families in the last 6 months. It's really cool, but the market's huge. We got to add 10,000 more agents here as quick as possible. And I love that, not to brag, but I like to see big results. I know I'm in the right place if that's happening. And then we have a platform that you can plug into. It would take somebody 5 years just to even get into business. I love this stuff. I just need to plug in and rock and roll. And it's digital. So you can do this wherever you want in the United States. You don't have to be in an office. You can be on your own. And the pandemic moved our business about 5 years into the future, which is absolutely awesome. And this is what we do. We move people from small E to big E, advocacy for entrepreneurs. We give the coaching, the teaching, and the training to make that happen. And hopefully that's exciting to you. We want to make sure that you get control in your life, buy your life back, say no to no boss, and it's cool when you get time and control back, and these are our options. So I just got to wrap up real quick here. These are options with us. You can become a client. You can come on board part-time like I was. 60% of our people are part-time. Half don't ever want to go full-time. They just want to play financial catch-up, and then focus, into full-time. And it's exciting. All these different options. We're here to coach, teach, train, and mentor you. But, as I'm wrapping up here real quick, what does financial freedom look like for you? And, when I was looking at this, I asked myself, I got goals, dreams, and aspirations, and does my career have the horsepower to deliver on my dreams? And I said it did, so I had to make a change. I asked myself, what intrigues me the most about this? And it was a big list. Could I think, why would I want to do it? I had a big list of why I wanted to do it. And then I asked myself, can I think of a good reason not to consider it? And as my brain started trying to talk me out of doing something that was different and uncomfortable, I said, I'll never know unless I give it a shot. And I'm grateful that I gave it a shot. I'm grateful that moment of truth when I said, you know what, I can either go for my ideal life and go for my dreams or shrink. And I read an article by USA Today, and they interviewed, it was 10,000 people over the age of 80, and they asked them, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do different? And all of them said, I would have taken more risk. I would have started a business. I wouldn't have had these regrets, right? They had regrets. And I'm like, man, that's a horrible time to figure it out. And I just said, I don't want to have regrets. And I'm glad I did. It's delivered for me. It can deliver for you. Please do a follow-up with whoever invited you. We'll ask you questions. We'll take you through an interview. And if it's a fit, we want to welcome you to this mission and help us advance the mission of stamping out and eradicating financial literacy in the United States. So anyway, great to be with you guys. Follow up with whoever invited you. Text, send them a text as we're wrapping up, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Take care.